that you understand it is my thinking, and we started this yesterday, that sets me apart. It sets me apart from the person on the other side. But now I'm going to give you a little contradiction here. If I ask you, and you guys know the answer already, if we take Djokovic, now whether you like him or not, you have to respect what he's done. Okay? If I take Djokovic and I ask you, is his mentality, his mindset, his attitude now better, sharper, more capable than it was 5 years ago or than it was 10 years ago? I think we can all agree that we're going to say, yeah, he's mentally more experienced. He's been through it all. And all of that comes with trial and error, adjusting, adding things to his mental game. But here's the contradiction. I just told you how important your thinking is, that'll be in the end the difference between you and your opponent. So how come he's not crushing them anymore? He's losing to serve. He's dropping sets to guys that, like, look, if we look the greatest of all time, whether you agree with that or not, he is one of the greatest of all time. But he's dropping sets. Why is that? Physically, he's not able to set his feet anymore as well as he used to. So, okay, now that brings about the importance of setting your feet when you play tennis. Let's go a little bit further. It's also about endurance. It's also about recovery. Because as you get older, that's how it is. He's done an incredible job to stay physically up with the young guys, but now he's dropping off. So when you fast forward 5 to 10 years, what's going to make a difference is both your thinking and your physicality. But the difference isn't going to be that forehand. It's not going to be your serving. Look, man, look at Ben Shelton. Doesn't he have the biggest serve out there? Look at Fonseca. The guy, he's one of the few guys that can hit a winner from behind the baseline. Yet, they're not number one in the world. Shelton just lost in the first round. So what am I saying to you? That your strokes in the end, look, it can create limitations, but your strokes in the end, those are not the weapons. It's how you use it. The pressure you create with it. The doubt you create with it. Look, I'm going to show you the biggest serve. I was fortunate to work with a young guy playing junior Grand Slams. Biggest serve in the junior circuit. Just a guy who walked by, gave him a wild card into a 100K tournament just because of his serve. Did he get broken? Absolutely. When did he get broken less? When he understood that the serve wasn't a weapon. How he created doubt. When he would slide that serve wide. He got in, squeezes in a little because he doesn't want to get beaten by the angle anymore. Now all of a sudden he throws a body serve. So understanding that in the end, your software, how you manage everything that you have, will separate. Yesterday we used the example of Federer. Federer, in his most incredible year, what was the stats? What were the percentages? I might be wrong here, but I think he only lost 4 matches that year. He also won most consecutive matches in a row. At that point, he broke the record. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. He only won 53% of all points that he played that whole year. What does that mean? The margin between winning and losing is very small, even when you're having an incredible year. Now, you can say to me, okay, that 5 or 6 points that makes the difference in the end. Right? But if you don't take care of all your points, you're not going to get to the big points that will swing the match. So now, here's my question to you. Is your thinking optimal? Now, if I can take, I know this is not possible, but entertain me with this. If I take Djokovic, his mentality, his mindset, and I gift you with that. Let's say I'm a genie, I can do that, right? I go like, boom, Camilla, here. right now, you get the same thinking as Djokovic. What do you think that'll do to you, UTR? How much? Come on, a lot. Right? Back yourself. So meaning, okay, we don't have everything that he has. And physically he was incredible. But guys, that's your thinking leading into this tournament ultimately. And I urge you to ask yourself this question. When things get tough, now a bunch of you guys are going into Clayport Nationals. Big event, right? You've worked hard for this. So when it gets tough, why do I say when it gets tough? Because look, everybody looks like a champion when things go well. But the nature of competition says, look, it is supposed to be tough. It's like war. You got two people competing for the same thing. And some people do it within the rules, some people do it a little bit outside of the rules. Okay? In all fairness. But the reality is that when things get tough, what happens to your thinking? Does it stay optimal? So I want to tell you a quick little story about the Navy SEALs. And you can go and look it up. And they said, look, they were planning, they finally found out where Osama bin Laden is, so now they're sending a team to go and capture him. They did a lot of planning leading up to this mission. But what they do is, they sit in the room and they go like, let's plan for a worst case scenario. What if things go wrong? And one of the guys said, the helicopter can fall, can crash. And they're all laughing now. In the end, that's what happened before they captured him. But they had a plan. They had a plan for when things go wrong. So guys, you're going to have the tournament. Are you prepared for when things go wrong? So this is what we all do. We practice well, we work hard, and now we go into the tournament and we're feeling good. We're expecting things to go well. But that mentality can hold you back. I'm not saying think negative, but be prepared for when things go wrong. And when things go wrong, you have a plan. So when you go into a tournament, expect things to be tough, expect it to go wrong. And when it goes wrong, do you have a plan B? Can you stay in that match? And I'm going to tell you something. Your ability to win on an A day, excellent, when you play your A game. But when things go wrong, and this is the reality when you go on the pro circuit, is that 7 out of 10 days, something is wrong. Something is not working. And when that happens, on a B and a C day, can you squeeze a win? Where does that come from? Not your A game anymore, not your weapons anymore. It comes from your thinking. So let's look at thinking quickly. But I do want to tell you, we don't lose matches in the beginning or in the middle. We lose matches somewhere and here. And if you don't, then you're probably going to end up playing, it's going to be bad. But the real losing is not the score. The real losing is in here if your thinking doesn't stay optimal. So, no match is wrong, beginning or in middle. It happens when you've made the right adjustments, when you're adapting. Good morning. When you've adapted to what is happening out there, that's when you can start saying, okay, hold on, now I can get my teeth into the match. So we have a little system here that we call AMIERA. Now, AMIERA stands for attitude. And by the way, AMIERA, okay, I know you're disappointed because you came up with a new name, but I decided not to go with that. Sorry, okay. Okay, AMIERA is A, and this is what I want you to write down. A stands for attitude. M stands for moment or mindfulness. I stands for intent. E, we got some slow riders here, and I'm not pointing at anybody specific. A-M-I-E stands for execution. R stands for result. And then the last A stands for awareness. Now I'll go ahead and explain this to you. So when we go, let me give you probably not the greatest example, but if I bake a cake, now I know not many of us here bake cakes. Like we live in a society where we just go like, hey, I want cake, let me go and buy it, okay? But that process, the recipe of baking a cake, means if I want a chocolate cake, I got to make sure that I put cacao in. Okay, that's how I get a chocolate cake. If I don't, it's not going to be chocolate cake. So now I'm saying, good morning, grab a seat. So I don't get the recipe right, I don't get the right outcome. So you're going into a tournament. So I'm giving you a little recipe here, AMIERA. So these are the jobs that you got to take care of. These are the ingredients that'll help you with your thinking. So A standing for attitude. And my attitude when I play a match, and we said, okay, things are going to go wrong. So when things go wrong, how does your attitude stay? Is it still positive? Or is it starting to make excuses? Is it complaining? You got a choice. Your thinking will separate you. But your attitude also needs to have resilience. Because we know things are going to go wrong. And in tennis, you lose it more than any other sport in the world. So your ability to deal with failure, to bounce back, to be resilient. So how do I do that? First and foremost, my self-talk. How I talk to myself. Number 2, we take excuses out. Number 3, self-belief. If you're not going to believe in yourself, your opponent's not going to do it for you. And sometimes you got to fake it a little bit. I'll give you a quick example. Johns Hopkins, the scientists did a study, and I'm sorry if this is a bit gruesome, but they did a study with rats. And they wanted to see, and put these rats in a bucket of water, and they were swimming, they couldn't get up. And after 15 minutes, they gave up. So I'm not going to tell you what happened next. So they did the study again. They took rats, put them in the water. Around 14 minutes, they took them out. They let them rest. They fed them a little bit. Waited a while. Guess what? They put the rats back in there. Looking cool as usual, huh? Okay, so they put the rats in the water again. And the rats swam for hours because of belief, hope, believing that somebody's going to take them out. So they stayed positive. They kept fighting. And that's what you got to do. Keep your thinking healthy. And when you hit this tournament this week, right? Remember, your opponent's not going to do that. Believe in yourself. And this is where small victories come in. Give yourself small goals. Okay? I say when you're in a thick, vegetated jungle and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, best thing you can do is take one step at a time. Just that one step. Take it. Next step. Next step. That's how you get through. And when you take that step well, you're not going to say, oh, I'm so good, so get rid of the ego. You tell yourself, hey, I've done a good job. So optimal thinking, again, with your attitude. Now I'm going to quickly tell you, your emotions are going to come up and down. It's like seasons, it comes and goes. We don't often have much control over that. Best thing you can do is accept it. Don't suppress it. Don't deny it. Don't say, I'm not frustrated here. Yes, I'm frustrated. I accept that I'm frustrated. What am I going to do about it? So your thinking comes down to adjustment. But you got two sides in you. You get the thinker and the feeler. The feeler wants to run the show. But what you as a competitor got to do is you can't give it the power of decision making. Power of decision making, feel how you feel. Every feeling brings a gift except for negativity. Anger brings intensity. But power of decision making goes to a thinking brain. Adjusting. How now do I become good at adapting? The thinking brain, the way you activate it, is by asking questions, being curious, being perceiving. Not judgmental, we're not slapping positive and negative on it. We're saying, what is happening here? Why am I losing? Why is my opponent winning? What is my opponent doing? Where am I missing? And that's how we adapt. That's how we figure things out. And constantly, the feeler and the thinker are going to fight each other within you as a competitor, and you're going to choose which one wins. It's simple. Which one wins? The one that you feed. So when you're in that match and your feelings are there, accept it, let it flow, let it go, hopefully in a respectful way. And then you get onto the thinker. Okay, what needs to happen here? What is happening? So again, that's part of optimal thinking when you play a tournament. And this is all just under attitude. There's a great clip on YouTube that says, attitude is the flavor of life. So true for competitors. Now, let's move on. We covered A of AMIERA. M, standing for mindfulness, moment. Look, I'm going to tell you, you can get attitude right, but if you're not in the now, if you're not in the moment when you play tennis, when that ball starts flying, if you don't see it, you don't see the detail. One of the greatest coaches I had the pleasure of speaking to said, every ball is question and answer. So when that ball flies, it's going to give you a lot of information, where to be, how to hit it, tactically what's possible. So be in the moment. Don't start your point 95% dialed in. Start your point 100% dialed in so you can take the detail, you can prepare early. And this is tennis. We win matches, the points between the points. But when that point starts, you're going to flick from that broad, variable focus to a narrow focus, locked into the moment. And it's true. The past, that mistake that I just made, that's only information. I did that between points. I figured it out. The present is for performance. The future is for tactical and strategical. So, be in the moment. Have your routines in place so that when that point starts, that you start clean. And this is where the pros are so much better. They're so much better than juniors. Because they don't make mental errors. They don't make timing errors. Look, that ball requires timing. It requires preparation. Now let me skip on to, we've done A, we've done M. I, these are all the jobs you got to do, all the ingredients you got to take care of when you compete. I stands for intent. Purpose. You got to play your points with purpose. But also, I want to remind you something. You can have the best tactics, the best intent in the point. But if that ball doesn't allow it, I got to be patient. I got to keep building my point. I can't rush it. Now, intent, I hope that you guys have systems in place, tactical intent. When I'm on a hard court, when I'm on a play court, my intent comes from the systems that coach put in place, or the systems that you've adopted. When do I change direction? When do I go higher? When do I build? When do I create? When do I attack? When do I center? When do I open? So a lot of systems. Because remember in tennis, you don't have time to think about things. You got to respond. Let's go on to E. Execution. Listen closely. This is a big one. Don't have the junior mentality where execution is not something you take care of. Or you make a complaint and you make excuses like, oh, I'm not feeling my forehand. No, rubbish. Right? You don't have a weapon, pick up a rock. Your forehand isn't working, you still have a backhand, you still have a slice, you have your serve, apply yourself differently. But Execution is yours to take care of. Execution mostly will be stolen away from you if you're not in the moment, if you're not intense, if you're not focused, if you're not urgent. So the moment is super important. Now, a lot of players are 95% dialed into the moment. So they take the detail a little bit late, and now the timing goes off, and they don't quite execute. You know what we see? We see shadow swings on the forehand. Nuh-uh. It's not a technical error, it's a mental error. You gotta watch the ball. I'm gonna fast forward again, and execution, it's not just technique, it's also how I move my biomechanics, my racket face control, so there's many layers to it. But again, you need to have systems in place. And guys, I don't want to complicate it for you, but make sure that you know what you want to do out there. When a ball comes fast, how do I move? When a ball is up here, what do I do? Now you guys are going to play on clay now, so you're going to face a lot more balls here unless you move well in and out. So your movement in and out is going to be better. Okay, let's move on from E. R stands for result. Now, result is a non-controllable because result comes from attitude, moment, intent, execution, getting it right, or making good adjustments. And in the end, result will happen when I consistently get the right next shot. And remember, there's no hiding place. Your opponent's going to tell you everything you need. You just got to pay attention. So pay attention to what they're doing, what they're not doing. But your biggest scoreboard shouldn't be a result for you as a junior until you're playing the biggest tournament of your life, which I hope is not now, Playboard Nationals 16s or 18s or 14s. The biggest result is fast forward. One day, when you're trying to cut it pro, or maybe college big matches. And then the R, after the R we get A. I added this one lately because I feel awareness, situational awareness, is something that we neglect sometimes. Situational awareness means what's happening here. And this can be a little bit under intent, but there are 4 basic awarenesses that I need to call on. Number 1, am I going to take more risk in this match? Because remember, if I'm not consistently getting the right next ball, something is off. Do I need to take a bit more risk? Do I need to disrupt my opponent a little bit? Change it up on them, take their rhythm. Maybe start them from hitting their forehand. Do I need to play more percentages? Am I not consistent enough? Or do I need to take percentages from my opponent? Who's ever faced somebody that you're up a set in 5-2 and they start tanking? I hope that's not you. But man, it starts coming off. They're just hitting undisciplined flat shots and it comes off. What do I do against that opponent in that situation? What's my awareness? Okay, hold on. He's teeing off. She's teeing off. Let me lower their percentages. Let me control the first phase. Let me push them behind the baseline. Let's see if they can keep hitting those winners behind the baseline. Increase my height. So meaning, I lower their percentages. Guys, your thinking is yours to take care of in a match. Have systems in place for attitude, for the moment, intent, execution, and for awareness. And all these things in the end, when we put them together, will help us to become better competitors. And most of what we're talking about here is software. So if you're not working day in, day out on your software, there's a kid somewhere that is doing it. You know what's great? Djokovic said that, look, he's not my favorite player, but I got to quote him here. He said, he got to #1 in the world and he realized that his thinking needs to be better. #1 in the world saying that. So, look, you're not the final product. But if you're only taking care of the physical things, fitness, technique, your strokes, okay, I guarantee you somewhere it's going to get tough. And if the software doesn't run optimally, right, those weapons don't work here. So I would urge you, going into this tournament, expect it to be tough, be prepared. But I want you to go and write a few notes for yourself on AMIERA. What am I going to do in this tournament? My systems, what are the things that I need to make sure I take care of? All right, guys, I wish you all the best.